Dialed in here. All right. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Absolutely blows my mind. There we go. Danesse. Kittam skat now aukakyo. And it's the second evening. Tipsko niso. I don't know if you can say that or not. I was thinking today about how Nootskita kinusige gisagawa anutsoche. I wonder if you can say that, or if I'd be understood. The days will be getting longer from here on out. Boy, that did a terrible job of cleaning my glasses. I don't have a good cloth. Dance Spencer. I think that's okay. Well, I just smeared things around a little bit. That's how it's going to be. Amaga. Okay. Rewired all my wires today. How does that look? That looks okay. And I can mostly see around my phone. Woke up with a kink in my neck this morning from I just started. Jesse. Aha, tapwe. Mio tipsko. Mio tipskanse. I just started streaming. I'm 5 minutes late. Fuss with all my cords and cameras, and I'll get a good setup here going here sooner or later. Getting a camera pointed at your desk is fussy. All right. We'll give folks a couple minutes to come in. Before we get started, we got a couple more stories tonight we're gonna tie into. We sage taki go maya tikosa. The goat, I guess. Yeah. Tanteo tigia, Jesse. Where are you from? I think you told me last night, but there was a lot of conversation and I get overwhelmed a little bit managing all of the things while I'm trying to do the live stream thing. Treaty 6, okay. Oh, miasin. So will I. Yeah. Nisto tipskow. Nisto tipskow. I don't know if you could say that. Let's look up a couple words while we're waiting for people to trickle in. Sometimes it's not totally clear if you say tipiskow. And I'm sure you can say more than one tipskawa, I guess. Tipskawa. So I guess you could say, Nisto tipskawakea pits. I guess you'd say that. Nisto tipskawakea pits. Ah, tapwe. Okay. Oh, we got a bunch of people on. Let's get started here. I've got to let me get my book over here. So last night we left off, I think we did 3 stories at the beginning of this book. These are from Solomon Rat. We're going to be reading these stories. So last night we read Wesagetak, Wigemeo, Oskanigua, Wesagetak Sawanok, Itoteo, and then Wesagetak Egwa. We read those last night. Tonight we're going to read Wesagetak Egwa Mayatikosa, Wesagetak Omgimitu, and then we'll switch over to this next book and we'll see how far we get into that one. Neepsee says, I changed my TikTok name to the nickname my grandma gave me. Neepsee. This other book we've got, what do we got? Wesagetak Egwa Apistagis Giskasisa. Giskasisa. And then Wesagetak Egwa Pawistigwa. Mahikan Gagiskemeo Wesagetak. I don't know if we'll get that far tonight, but we'll go as far as we can. We got a couple more nights here we're going to read. And these stories, most of these stories, you can find them. You can find them in this book from Solomon Rat. Gapes Kiskisian, the way I remember. Gapes Kiskisian. You can find this at the U of R Press store. I think it was $26. 26 or 30, something. How? I meet again. Let's read. Okay. What's interesting about this is the more I read these stories, because I didn't hear these stories when I was growing up. I've heard them as a learner, and some of them, and the more I read them, the more I sort of recognize the words, and the more the funny parts are funny, which is kind of fun. I can't wait until I can tell these stories without, just off the top of my head. I'm not there yet. One day, though. Okay. Oh. We're going to get started now. Pegwa so isagitsaki egi papemote meskana kespiga wapmat mayatikosa. So at some point in time, Wesagetak, he'd been walking around down the road when he saw a goat, I guess. Mayatikosa. Ga supayo sagasik ego tauti egimut tapmat anihe mayatikosa. So gaso paiso. Gaso would be like to hide. Gaso paeho. So he hid himself, I guess. The way my brain understands that is he hid himself. Saga seek, like in a bush, maybe? What does Solomon say over here? He hides quickly behind a small bush. Okay. He hides behind a small bush. Egotauti. And then from there, Kimutapmat. He kind of spied on that goat, I guess. What does Solomon say here? He secretly looks at him. That's like spying, right? Mayatiko sa ote eteamat. No what's pago? Wawiasnago siwa ohe. Ote. What does that word mean? It's one of those ones I don't... Ote. It's like that one, maybe? I don't hear it that often. What does that mean? My brain thinks it knows what that means, but it... In fact, I guess. Huh, interesting. Okay. Let's look at what Solomon's translation says. Well, at least he thought it was a goat. It was kind of funny looking. Mayachiko saute e teamat. So in fact he thought it was a goat. No spago. Wawiasnago siuohe. Wawiasnago siua. That'd be the funny looking part. Like that wawia. Like if you wawiatsamon, this is like a funny little story. Wawiasnago. And we talked about that last night, that nago se. Right there. That part's the part what something looks like, eh? Oh, Pitagwe. Boy says, what book is this? You can find these stories in this book, in this one. Kapes Kiskisian by Solomon Rat. You can find this on the U of R Press. Most of these stories are in there. I have a copy that these books were given to me a few years ago by one of Solomon's students. They're sort of the pre-release version, I guess. Got the typos still. Don't tell my friend Ben I said that. Furious says, Dance, Nitsagan, Mananto nia. Wawias na go siua, that goat was funny looking. Natsius toeo egoes pamiga otita huat. Ta goatsi quasco tu. Naya Natsiostoweo. It sounds like, I don't know that word, Natsiostoweo. What does Solomon Rat say? He creeps up on it. And when he reaches it, he jumps on its back. Oh, and we didn't get that far. Let me keep reading, because we didn't. I got the jumping part. Natsiustoweo. I guess that means he creeps up on it. Ego espiga otita huat. Tahkuts guasco tu. He jumps on it, I guess. As soon as espiga otita huat. As soon as he approaches it, as soon as he reaches it, I guess, he jumps on its back. O spiguani, egua otit nam, ote scaniua, and he grabs his horns, I guess. Ah, mananto, kimaga. Pitagwe. Mayoga magonat oteskani misene muyua egua sepuepataiua. As soon as something, mayo, it means as soon as, magonat. Magoneo. Let's look that one up. We can just check. Every once in a while, if I just go ahead and look up a word, it'll help stick it in my brain sometimes. Magoneo. Presses hard on something. To press on someone, press hard on that. Maguneo. Interesting. I am not confident I will remember that one, but we'll see. Mayoga magonat oteskani. As soon as he presses on that goat's horns, misene muyua, egwa te sipwe tayua. This ne muyua, I don't know that one. Ne mo. Let's look it up. This is my process for, this is my process when I'm reading. Try and find a word, try and get it into my head. Nemo. He growls. Cool. Cool. Nemuyua. And we know it's the goat that growls and not Wisageta. Because earlier on we said mayatiko sa, that on the end. That means that that's the one that's stuff's happening to, I guess, or there's two different persons in a story sometimes when you're telling a story. And when that is on the end, then if you have yua or yit on the end, oteskaniwa, that's the goat's horns. Atesepwepa tayua, that's the goat that tried to run, leave running, I guess you could think of it that way. Danse, Brownie says, thoughts on nation's own currency separating from Canada dependency. That's a complex idea, and we can talk about that another time maybe. Because, not that I don't want to, but tonight we're going to read stories. Thanks for the question. Mayoga makonat oteskani. As soon as he pressed on the horns, misenemoyua, that goat gave a big growl. Egwa sipwe tayua, and tried to take off running. He started taking off. He started to run away. So mitzim neo oteskaniik anehe mayatiko samaga speak no what's sogega makonat oteskaniik no what's atikisi pa tayua. No what's mean a misane muyua. Okay, there's a lot there. Let's work through it slow. Oh, interesting. Well, I'd love to hear more, Brownies. Yes, maybe send me a message or something. I'll have a look at it later. Sounds interesting. So he mitzimneo. So he mitzimin would be, I guess, to hold someone. Mitzimna, hold it, like grab it. So he really held on, he really held on to his horns. Anihe maya tzihkosa, that goat's horns, but maga, yespi, no what sogega makonat, but as soon as he pressed harder, I guess. Uteskani, no what's at gesipa tayua. I think I know what that says, but let's go see what Solomon says here. He holds tightly to the goat's horns, but the tighter he holds on, the more it growls, and the faster it goes. That's pretty cool. Know what's is one of those words that I think I'm just starting to figure out how to use that, how it like to understand. And so the sentence makes sense to me. Sogi mitzim neo te skani maga anihi maya tzihko samaga espino wat sogi ga magonat o te skani no wat sat ki kesipa taiua, nawats-mina, misene-muiwa. So, nawats-soge-ga-maka-nat, the harder he presses on them, those horns, nawats-ate kesipa taiua, the harder that goat runs, nawats-mina, misene-muiwa, the more it growls. Yeah. Morgan says there's a lady on TikTok. Her name is Roxanne Bless. She's a Cree language teacher. I follow her. I follow Roxanne. Yeah. Bis bagits ewep namanihi. Utes kaniwa ka pune mota wa mayati ko segwa paksin meskana. So finally, or I guess eventually you could say, bagits ewep nam. Bagits. Let's look that up. Weepinaz to like throw something away, I guess. Weepin. What's bagetse? To let go, to release it. Okay. That makes sense. Looks like maybe that should be a long I on there. I did say there were typos in here. We'll just pencil that in. Bies bagetse weepin. Oh no. Yeah, weepinum. Anehe. Eventually he lets go of the horns. Kapone mot. Awamayatsi goes. That goat stops growling. Meskana. And he falls down on the road. That's the story. Oh, there's the TH version. But not tonight. We're going to stick to Y dialect tonight. There, one down. Danisikagyo. Pitagwe. Kitatamskat now, wow. Anuska tipskagi mai ai mitsiga. Atayu kewana. Kagi satsamut Solomon rat. Ga isse atsamut Solomon rat. Stories from, you can find these stories if you're just joining us. This book, Ga Pes Kiskisian. You can find this at the U of R Press. I think we looked it up last night. It was about $26. U of R Press online. I think somebody said Chapters has them too. I was at the Chapters in West Edmonton a while back. They only had a few books there. I don't think they had this one, but I think it depends on what's in stock. But otherwise, U of R Press online, I think it's about $26. They have a lot of good books. Aha, beat away. Okay. Is Shanizzle here? I'm going to start her favorite story, and she's not even on the live. Jeez. Stagats. What's a stagats? All right, well, we'll start anyway. Ash says, Dance, Mananto, Kimaga. I told Shanice, 6 o'clock. We're starting at 6 o'clock, but... Okay, we sage itza. Gimi tsu. Pegwa we sage itza. Mi tse tsi pa. Ki nepa his tamaso. So at one point in time, Wisagaitak had killed himself a bunch of ducks, I guess. Many, quite a few, I guess. That's an interesting word. Nepa Nipahistama, so that's stum. When you hear that stum oil, that's usually for the benefit of somebody. Gatsamo stamatna. Wow, I'm going to read for all of you. And then that iso or stamaso is like for yourself. Nipaistamaso, so he killed a bunch of ducks for himself. Ewan eguta kiate go tsawisu. I wonder if that's something to do with cooking, eh? Like gotawan, gotsawisu. What does Solomon say here? Oh, he prepares them. Well, he prepared those ducks. He begins preparing them. Epih kena tani sisipa. Oh, guayasqui mismi so te tam. I'm going to look this up because I feel like the translation says, this is Solomon's words, one Swiss Agatak had killed many ducks for himself. He prepared those ducks. Oh, he was going to eat well, he thought. But I feel like the prepared, there's some stuff in here that there's a couple of sentences here. Let's look that up. Gotsawesu. Gotsawesu. Because I don't know that word. Gotsawesu. Nope. This is the tricky bit about Gotawesu. No. What if I look up prepares? The only word I know for prepare is wawiu or wawita. Gotsawesu. So if you know that word, Gotsawesu, help us out. And then pihkaneo sounds like to shape, dismantle, to shape. So that maybe be the prepare part. Gotsuisu sounds like he's going to cook it. Getting ready to cook it or something. But that's just my guess. I don't actually know. Oop, got to flip my camera back. Boop, there we go. If you know that word, let me know. Gotsuisu. Gotsuisu. Oh, guayasqui mismi tsotetam. Oh, he really thought he was going to eat really good. He thought he was going to eat really good. Eguan egu tautse atit atena nautsiu egota mistigosa. Nautsiu. There's another one. Let's look that one up. Nautsiu. Nautsiu. He roasts them. So he starts to roast these sisipa. Eguane ego tautsi atit atena nautsiu. So some of them he starts to make roasts, I guess. Ego ta mistigosa eapatsi tat enauatsi ego ta gotoani. On these sticks that he used to roast there in the fire, I guess. Let's see what Solomon says. So he began making some roasts, using sticks to make the roasts there in the fire. Pretty close. Not bad. Hegwani atit e wawe weganat nipi ayapatsitat e weganat eguta si pa antescotek estat. Whew, there's a lot in that sentence. And some of them, anehatit, some of those ducks, Ewaweganat, Ewaweganat. Nipia. Nepia's leaves. Ewaweganat. Let's look that up. Weoweganat. Weoweganeo will be the word. Weoweganeo, he wraps them. Weoweganeo. Tansikakio pitagwe. Anutska tipskag. Eaimitsigea. Eaimitaya. Tayu Gewana. Solomon Rat Guys Atsamut. Mananto. I'm reading Shanizzle's favorite story. She's not even here. Oh, we're going to tease her when she comes in. We're going to be like, oh, that's such a good story. Where Sake Jack eats his scabs. As soon as she comes in, let me know. All right. Eguanehatite wawe weganat nipia. So he wraps some of them in leaves. Eapatita te weganat egotasi pa anteskotek. He used some leaves to wrap those ducks. Si pa. Tahkuts is like above. Si pa, I think, is under. Yeah? Si pa. Kegwa masanaiga no ma tisqua. Umamuta. Kapis kiskisiani siga te komaya. You can find these stories in this book from Solomon Rat. You can find this at the U of R Press, and I think somebody said it's available at Chapters. Kapis kiskisian. Lots of good stories. I just have an older copy that from one of Solomon's students from before it was published. And the coil-bound format is convenient. Si pa, under, yeah. So if you're new here, thanks for everybody for coming in. I'm just a language learner myself. I was kind of keeping my eye out to see if somebody was reading stories. Solomon's done this for a couple of years. I didn't see anything this year, so I don't know what's going on. I thought, well, we'll just read some stories. But I'm just a language learner. I am not a fluent speaker, so we're learning together. Okay. Nipia iapetita, tawewegana tegutasi paanta. Isko take estat, and he put them under the fire. He put them under that fire there. Eogoni. Eayahwat, eogoni sisipa. Eguane gisisuak, oge sipak, eguapape ho, awakistesno. Dingus says Cree with English spelling. So we won't get too deep into it right now, but this is called Roman orthography, SRO. Some people call it the Standard Cree alphabet. It's based off of the Tahpegana syllabics. It's 1-to-1 with the syllabics. But the important thing is when you're reading these letters, these are Nehio letters. These are not English letters. These letters make Nehio sounds. If you try and read these with an English voice, it won't sound right. So if you're just brand new to SRO, just be aware that these are not English letters. These are Nehio letters. And if you prefer Tahpegana, and if you get this book or any of these books from the U of R Press, there in the beginning, all of the stories are in the syllabic, so you can read them that way if you prefer. I know both. Less skilled at the syllabics, I can puzzle my way through it. And I've taken several of Ruben's courses, but I find the SRO is I'm used to it, so that's what I use. Yeah, I think the Inuktitut syllabics are they have a lot in common. I know Jimmy O'Cheese uses syllabics for Nishnabemu and Mina. Yeah. Okay. Eogoni. Eayahwat. Eogoni si pa. Ewani. Ategi sisuak ogi sisipak. Ayahwat. What is that? Ayahwil. Let's look it up. Ayahwil. He covers them. He buries them. Oh, give me a thing, the coil-bound book. A friend of mine, I don't know if I could. I asked him for a copy of this at one point in time. At one point in time, it was secret. It was a secret book because Solomon Rat's stories hadn't been published yet, and my friend Ben helped him transcribe and type these out. So these were secret copies for a while. But then the book was published, and that's this book here. So, but I can't. If I had a copy of the coil-bound ones, I'd give it to you, but I don't. So I can't do that. Eayahwat. He buries them. Eogoni si pa. He buries those ducks that he'd wrapped in the leaves. Iguane. Ategisuak ogisisipak. And so those ducks start to cook. Atepape hoa kistasano. And so our older brother, he waits for them. He waits and waits. He begins to wait. We learned this word yesterday. Iskatse. He got tired of waiting. he starts to get tired of waiting. It gets really tired of waiting. Gestasno. So squats nwin pa sin tuo. Ma tigo tsag. Itwil. Ewi ato tat ohe. Ogo tsaga. So I'll use Solomon's translations for these, okay? So squats nui nipa sinituel mate ko tsag ituel. Ewi atotat ohe ogo tsaga. He says, I'll just nap a little. He says, please, asshole, he said, as he made his request to his asshole. Solomon. Go tsag. Koskuni kanis sisi pakegi sustik. Kisisutuawe. Etoeo esa. Egwa ne atenipao egota. Asshole, he says. Koskuni kan. Ispik sisi pak. Egisistik. And there's a whole bunch of S's in there. I struggle with that sometimes. Gisisutuawe. When they're cooked. What does he say over here? Asshole, wake me up when the ducks are cooked. If they are cooked, he says. And then he went to sleep. Is gesis, wise elderly man? I don't know that word. For that word elderly, like Kiseyanu, I hear, or yeah, Kiseyanu, I guess. Egwa ni atanin pao egota. So then he went to sleep. Egwa kita toe, kita toe ogotaka, ka pita guaniek, pok pok. Atspogo wawesage taka nanepa. So then suddenly Ogotsaga could be heard making this noise, pok, pok, pok. But nevertheless, tsipogo Wisagitsaga nanepat. But Wisagitsak kept sleeping nonetheless. Hey. Ke tatoe wana peo one skau. Kanawapa tam ukotoan. Me stas kisutsik. E sauge uta sisi pako samkin weskin eginipat. Suddenly he woke up. He looked at the fire. Yikes! His ducks were all burnt up. He had overslept. Koyas kisua hik. Ugo tsag. Hegwan ego tautsi taupogo. Geta giskin o hamawat. He was really mad at his asshole. Hegwan ego ta utsi taupogo. Geta giskin o hamawat. He was gonna really teach it something. Egota iskotek itena ogo tsak. So he put his butt in the fire. What does Solomon say? So he was angry with his asshole, so he purposely put his asshole in the fire to teach it a lesson. Achitaupugu. Ochitaupugu. Still no Shanice, eh? Boy, she's gonna be mad with me. We read the whole story. She wasn't even here. That's what you get for being late. Kagiskano hamat tin kia e guy nitotoyen. I'm gonna teach you a lesson. Kia. Ega ntotoyen. Because you didn't listen to me. Ego tagatui. Oh, mitni gisasa ogo tsak ego tauutsi at the sipuiteo. So, I'll teach you for not listening to me. And there he said, oh, truly, he cooked his asshole. Then he left. Guask. We saw ke tamugo tsak ego tautsi at the sipuiteo ego tautsi. We saw tam. His asshole was truly hurting, I guess. You would say truly, yeah, it was truly hurting. Ego tautsi at the sipuiteo. So, but he left from there. Kinwisk pimuteo. He walked for a long time. Agoyeskwa we sageta mugo tsak maga kinwisk pimuteo. His butt was really hurting. It was truly hurting, but he but he still kept walking for a long time. Pisk. Siagis. Isiayao. Finally, it began to feel a little better. Finally, he began to feel better. Siagis. I learned this from Ruben Quinn, Siagits, but I guess that'd be the same. Pisk siagis isiayao. Egwani mana maga. Kia pitspa pimuteowa. But still he continued to walk around. Wisagita. Ke tatoel gawapa takiwe. Suddenly he saw something. Hegagwatage no te mitsuta iskawa. Kagwatage. I don't know that part. Kagwatage. Let's look it up. See if we can find it. Kagwatage. Kagwatage. I know I've heard that before, but sometimes words don't stay. Oh, I gotta change. There we go. Tage. Kagwatage. Suffer, difficult. So in this context, Gagwatage no te mitsut, he was suffering for hunger. He was really hungry, I guess. How does Solomon phrase that? He was incredibly hungry. That makes sense. Aiskawa. Egagwatage no te mitsut aiskawa. Suddenly he saw something. He was incredibly hungry by this time. Ke tato ega wapa tak meiskanaki gwewa. Ai tap skutsui aso mai teta kegwani at otnam. Suddenly he saw something. He saw something on the road. Tap skutsui aso might looked like meat. E teta. He thought to himself. Egwani at otnam. So then he took some. Ai tapwe gitse. Nemosomak. Yasamek kahkeoak uma. Kahkeoak uma. I've only ever pronounced that word plural. Kahkeokwa. Kahkeoak uma. Tapwegitse, oh, this is great, he says. Nemosomak easimtik. My grandfathers, they're feeding me some dry meat. I guess they've left some. My grandfathers have left some dry meat for me to eat. Eotna, he takes it. Eate meets it teogo, and he starts to eat that. Kehtato epogo gape toat piesisa. But suddenly he hears a bird. Wisagetak omgi mitsu. Wisagetak omgi mitsu. Wisagetak's eating his scabs. Wisagetak's eating his scabs, I guess, eh? Ai was. Nemo somo wai pe asamit. O miu kahkewak. He says, go away, get out of here. My grandfather has fed me this. He gave me this dry meat. Wisagetak omegi mitsu. Wisagetak omegi mitsu. The bird sings again, eh? Wisagetak's eating his scabs. Tapwe manamaga tino toto eohe. Solomon says, but alas, Wesagetag began to hear that one. Ego tapaso anemiu. So he smells that. What does that word mean? May you. Is that like a gift? May you. That's not what I'm looking for. May you. The interpretation over here is that which he had been given. He smelled that which he held. Tapwe manamage so ugota egototsi atamitsit. Egisi mikohi piesi sa. Truly he had begun to eat the scab from his asshole. The words of the bird made him angry. Pimosina teo maga patahueo egota wasquakan maga mitsamo paiik animiu omigi. There's a lot of words in that sentence I don't understand. Pimosina teo maga patahueo. Wesagetzak threw the meat at the bird, but he missed. Egotawa squawk, anmaga, mitsemo paiek. It sounds like it got stuck in a birch. Wasquay is a birch? In the birch tree, I guess. The scab hit a birch tree and was embedded there. Mitsemo paiek. Huh. Egota pusa gananuts. Kitisigiskete no. Eoguanma wasquakma nagapit ananta pusagan. That scab hit a birch tree and was embedded there, and there that, as we know it today, the birchwood fungus grows that medicine. Eoguanma wasquakmanaga pitana antapuskan eogomaski ki, that medicine. Egotauti gagiutit eoguana. Eguamanaga wapatama eguse mana wesagetak omgi nintituanan elgo pusagan. That is where the medicine came from. So when we see that fungus there today, that is what I say. Wesagetak scab. I guess we'd know that as chaga, wouldn't we? And ask and Solomon for that story. Oh, Shanice is going to be so mad. She wasn't even here for it. Pima tiswanasko bigskatan tapskutsmana ka pe nani muhtian. Nipima tiswin mayoga pon pi gwayam soyan tata asnima gimsun tata wagoisun tipinowa nimiskasun. I'm not going to pretend to understand most of that. There's a lot in there. Tipinowa nimiskasun. Sounds like he'll find himself. Okay, one book down. let's move on to the next one. Doing good for time. About halfway through. Got about an hour left. Agam ne hiyawe tan. Agam ne hiyawe pamatsatan. Kiskisolte tan. Awina kiano. Okay. Oh, the title for the book. This is the book you can find at Chapters or the U of R Press. Go ahead and take a screenshot. Let me get it in frame there. Gape Skiskisian, Solomon Rat. 3, 2, 1. If you go on the we can just do that together real quick here. If we go on the U of R, just search for U of R Press Store. I wonder if we can search for, all right, we just go The Way I Remember Solomon Rat. That's it right there. This is, I think it's mostly in TH. But TH and Y, I can read it because it's Solomon worked at the University of the FNUV, I think FNU, and worked in Y dialect for a long time. So if you get like Matsini Hiyawe and Akamne Hiyawe Tan, those are in Y dialect. But this book he wrote in TH. That's his native dialect. But you can still understand it if you just change the THs to Ys and say it out loud. Then most of the time it sounds pretty much the same. FNUC, yeah. All right. Oh, we've been here before. Pencil marks everywhere. Look at that. Waisagetak. Egwa upstigis giskisisa. Pegwawi gisagag. Ani pi. So one day, when it was summer, Waisagetak paisa sigatetam. Oh, you know what? The fun part about this book, when my friend gave it to me, there's no translations. So this one we have to, this is the advanced one. So we gotta puzzle our way through it. We'll be looking up a few words. I'll spend the next hour on this story. Paisa sigatetam. So we better start with that one, because I don't know that. I don't know that laugh. I don't laugh. I don't know that word. Laugh. Siga datum. He was bored. I'm going to write that in. Morgan, is this book in Plains Cree? The one I'm reading is in Plains Cree, but the book, the U of R, is in Woods, TH. In TH dialect. Stars says you can invite people in who can help translate. Oh, I'm streaming from, I'm not actually streaming from TikTok on my phone. I'm streaming from OBS using this program called Restream. And I wouldn't even know how to invite somebody in. I don't know that it's, if I was doing this from my phone, which I have in the past, I'm trying something new tonight. So I'll think about that for tomorrow. We might just hook up my phone and do it that way. That might make more sense. And then I could invite somebody in, and because I've had that in the past. Have people help me out. Oh, my laugh. Well, that's good. It's good that it doesn't annoy you. Ah. The Garmin says, teach me Cree. I lost in elementary from French class. I lost it. I hope you'll keep coming back. I can't teach you, but I can. We can work on it together. Indigenous woman says, my community put up an app for Cree. What's it called? We'll look it up right now. Everybody can see it. Oh, there's quite a few people here. Dansikaki, oh, kitam skat now, wow. If you don't know me, Ernitsiga, Sonasaniwa, Tiwaskaiga no Tsinia. What's the app called? If you'll, can we find it online somewhere? I suppose, if it's an app. Fort Chip, different, I guess, a little bit. It's the same language, different dialects, all around Alberta and Saskatchewan. Even if you get into the major dialects, NYTH, they're very similar. And folks, if you know a bit of, if you speak Y, then you understand people in different dialects. I was telling this story. I was out at a ceremony, and there was this fellow from out east, and he was speaking, I think, L dialect or so. I don't even know what it was. And they understood each other. And he speaks Y, and the other fellow was speaking some Eastern dialect, and I could understand one of them, and the other one went. They understood each other, but I couldn't understand that Eastern dialect. So we just keep working on it. Just keep listening, keep coming back. Indigenous women. I haven't seen the app yet. As soon as that, if you can share the app with us, I'll bring it up, and we'll share it with everyone. Okay, back to the story. In the summertime, we sagay paisa sigati tummy was deadly bored. He was so bored. He was like one of my teenagers. Bored. He was bored where he was wandering around. Kitatoepago, Pito Tapsin. Pito Tapsin. Sounds like he saw something different, but let's go see if we can find that word. Pito Tapsin. Pito Tapsin. Sin. Su Pito Tapsin. He starts seeing strange things. Huh. Pito Tapsin. Ego tau niganami gawap madaps giskisisa e mama tau sitsigit. So there in front of him, I guess, oniganami. I guess that means in front. Nigan is like, I'm guessing that's what that means. Let's see if we can find it. Oniganami. Oniganami. Well, the only thing the dictionary says is in the future, but I guess it means in front of him. Oniganami. If you know that word, let me know. Egota oniganami gawapman upstigis kisisa. He sees these, what would you say? Geese kisisa, little birds, I guess. What kind of birds are those? I will be uploading these to YouTube. Yes, thank you for the question. I forgot to do that yesterday. I'm going to upload these to YouTube Geese. I don't think it's in there. Geese. Oh, a chickadee or a tomtit. Chickadee. Ups to geese. Ups to geese. We'll use chickadees because I don't know what a tomtit is, but I know what a chickadee is. I'm going to be another hour, so you'll have to figure it out. Just phone down. Okay, you'll have to figure it out. I'm in a live streaming right now. No te wak. So I simsananak. So he sees these out in front of him. He sees these chickadees. E mama tau si tsigit. They're doing something spectacular. Mama tau, like amazing or magical, maybe, I guess you could say. Otnamiua oskisikwa. Oh, I remember struggling with these words. Opawepenamiua ispamik nipsi. Egwagawi pakitna. O pakitna ostagwanik. They were throwing their eyes up in the air. Otname were taking their eyes. Otnamiwa oskisigwa. Egwa ohpewepenamiwa. They were throwing them up in the air. Ispami. Neepseek, up into the willows, I guess. Neepsee. Egwagawi, and then back again. Pakitna ostagwanik, and then they would come back down into their heads. Fall back into their heads, I guess. Paktin. Why is that in there? Pakitin. I wonder if that's a variation of that word. Let's look it up. Pakitin. Sure is. It falls down. What if there's no H? Nope. I've been saying that word wrong for so long. Pakitin. All right. April says, it's been a while since my beginner Cree class. Thank you for taking the time to translate. Just keep in mind that my translation is probably wrong, or at least not completely right. I'm just a language learner, and we're just working through this together. So I'll pronounce words wrong. I'll read them wrong. I don't like to translate. So we're not translating, we're puzzling it out. We're doing the best we can with what we have. So then that's my disclaimer. That's the fine print. So you can't come back and say, oh, that guy, TikTok, he said so. Then you'll get me in trouble. I'm already in trouble enough. Ego tau nigan mi go up abstigis kasis ay mama tau sitsagit ot na miwa o skisegwa opo wepen na miwa espamik nipsik ego gawi pahkitna ostagwani. O tapwewe sagetak egse. Ese I agawa tak. He really wanted to do that. Guy say ito tak, that what those birds were, what they were doing. He really wanted to do that. Egse ese I agawa tak. He really desired that. Guy say ito tak, to do that. So he started to approach them. And seemed tek to Giskano and dancing get it tot man nistoma. Gatakam xian. My younger siblings, he says. Kiskanohamun tansi gita itotaman. Nistomaga takam ksin. Teach me as well how to do that thing you're doing. Namoya. Guys na squeus simgut. Nasqueo simgut. Gas nasqueo sim. Oh, that's a tough one. Guys nasqueo simgut. No, answered that bird. Biesi sa. Giche sitsige winuma. This is, I guess you'd say like a sacred thing. Giche sitsige win. If you have a different understanding of that word, let me know what you think. Exoma nititu tenis spika taste guanian pogo. You only do this when you got a headache, he says. Exoma nititu teno espika taste guanian pogo. I only do this when I have a headache. That bird said. Weisage ta kitamagim sua iski teta ki anweita got hegwa namananto tuyo we a sipuitit. Oh, so Weisage ta he really felt sorry for himself, I guess. Kitamagim, so he was pitying himself because he thought anweitagot egwa anweitagot. Let's go look up that word because I forget what that word is. Anweitagot. Anweitoweo, I think it's going to be. Anweito. Because he was rejected. Oh, geez, I didn't show you the screen. I keep forgetting to switch. I'm sorry. There it is right there. Anweitoweo. But that anweitagot, that means they rejected him. Not that he rejected them. They rejected him. That gut, that tells you who was rejected. Egwa namananto otweo we a sipuitate. So he says, oh, no problem, as he leaves. Moyo sam gitse tam tansiga ganaweitagwa gagi itu tamiet abstigis kisisa atauya. So he didn't really think very much, I guess. I'm reading my notes in here. Last time I have written down gitsetam, to think highly of something. Ganateta kwa, that which is ganateta kwa, that which is sacred. Gagi itutami, the thing that those little birds were doing. So my learner interpretation of this, my limited understanding of this, the way I understand this is, he didn't think it was very sacred. That thing those birds were doing anyway. He didn't think it was that sacred. Espiga awase wait we awesake itzak. Gasis sko gawi gwe skew. So is when he was out of sight, is speak a wase wait. When he was out of sight, that was agitak. Gases skogawi skew. He quickly turned around. I'm cheating now. I'm reading my little notes here because we've been through this story before. So I got little notes so I can. We'll still look up a few words, but don't think for a second that I'm. There's still lots of this as I read it. I'm like, I don't quite understand that, but I'm cheating as I'm reading my notes here. and for that reason, my interpretations could also be wrong. So keep that in mind. We must go egwa tago teo teni ganga wapmat biesi sa. We must go. We must go. I have written down here, avoid by going around. Let's look it up anyway. We must go. He avoids someone by going around, I guess. We must go. Oh, hey. Neil Red Crow's here. Tagako ma mia sine tago sinien. Nitsawam. He didn't think it was so important that it should be kept a secret. Yeah, thank you. Now we're going to get to the bottom of some of these. We must go well. He avoids by going the long way around. Aha, mananto nia. Kimaga. We must go ego tago teo teni ganga wapmat isa. So he goes the long way around, and then he arrives back where he first saw those birds, those chickadees. Ota. Tsanag. Oh, there's a tough word. Tsanago says. Tsanago says so. Iapati hat. Oya man. Katumi quit utnam mistigos. Tasaska hotagit egwa nawagio tapskutski senu. Ga neos ne so sit we. All right, there's a lot in there, so we'll go through it slow. Yaya tsina nago say so. Something to do with his looks he does to himself. Let's look it up. Atsanago se. Atsanago se. Is so. Atse. So I'm gonna take a guess and say he changed his appearance. That exact word's not there, but close enough. Tsanagsu is to appear different. Tsanago says so. He changes his appearance. Eapati hat oyaman. So he uses some. Oyaman. Is that going to be like paint? Something? Vermilion. Neil says to dress in a costume. Hey, tagaki. Josh, what's the site called? This is called Etuewana. So if you can just Google it. Not maps. It wewana or I want you could probably Smart Cree Dictionary maybe. I don't know if it'll come up. Yeah, it wewana, that one right there. It's out of the U of A. Eapati ha toya man. Te tomi kuit. Ut na mischigos. Te saska hotagi tegwa. Nawagio tapskutske seenu. Ka ne so situia. So he uses paint to paint his face, and he takes a stick. The Saskahota gate. I think that's to limp. Walk with a limp? Let's look it up. Saskahota. To walk with a cane. Saskahoteo. So he walks with a cane. Is K always pronounced as G? So it depends on the community. It's what do they call that? Allophone. So it has different sounds, but it doesn't change the meaning. So sometimes it's voiced and sometimes it's not. But not always. An example, like most places I hear kokum, and those both sort of sound like K-ish. But in some communities I hear gokum. They sound more G-ish. So it depends on the community you're from or the area you're in. Best to check with your fluent speakers. Otna mistigos to Saskahotagate. So he takes a stick to walk with, like a cane. And he bends over like an old man. Ga ne so sit wia. My notes in there say frail. So he bends over and walks like a frail old Kisenu. Mitse twauga ma peneka sut. Itago te tita. Ga kam seats get piesi sa. Ma penegasu. Ma penegasu. Let's go look that up. I didn't write notes in there for that one. Dance Preston. Kinstoto insi. Ma peneo. Let's do that. Because that gaso is going to be like he pretends. Ma penegasut. He acts like he's in pain. So ma peneo is to groan in pain or to complain. But that gaso at the end, ma penegasut. He pretends to, he acts like ma penegasut. He acts like he's in pain. Tagotate, as he arrives, itaga acham sitsageet bihisisa. As he arrives where those birds are continuing to do that, mama to sitsagewin. Ay asanui watsi otinya, asani watsi waskaigan. Isigate. Anin nishbish. I know so little Anishinaabe. Do you just say Anin back? Or do you say something else? I don't know. I'm going to have to learn now. Kisenu, tane kega ma piniin. Hey, old man. How come you're ma piniin? How come you're groaning, I guess? Ma pineo? Let's look that up. Anin boujou. Anin boujou. Oh yeah, ma pineo. That's the one we just looked up. Ma pineo. He's groaning. How come you're groaning in pain? Itoe apstigiskis giskisis e wap mat wisakita. I'll stop here for not stop. I'll pause here for a second and just talk about this because there's some interesting stuff that happened. Up until this point in the story, we've always said wisageta and apstigiskisisa, that on the end. But now it's the other way around. Apstigiskisis wisageta wa. And if you don't, for some of you, this will be just review. I'll just talk about that for a second because this is when I started learning hiyawe, and unfortunately, books was all I had, or unfortunately, I feel like it's can be necessary to get into the books from time to time. You don't have to learn that way, but I dove right in. And I ran into this thing called the obviate, which was confusing. So hiyawe, especially in stories, sometimes there's two people. You don't ever just tell a story about one person. You tell a story about two people. And in hiyawe, one of those people is the focus of the story, and one of those people is sort of supplemental, or other people might be supplemental. So when you hear that on the end, that tells you who's in focus and who's sort of supplemental. And when there's interactions between them, e wapamat, wisagetak, wa, that wa on the end tells you that it was the birds that saw wisagetak. But if it was the other way around, wisagetak e wapamat, gis ayapstigis, that would mean wisagetak was seeing them. That's why that changed like that. Kisenu tane ke ka ma piniin et tueo apstigis e wapamat wisagetak. Hey, old man, how come you're moaning in pain, says this bird as he sees wisageta. Oh, tapwin, get the magsin. Tuewa wisageta. We see here again that focus has changed. So now wisageta for this is now back in focus. Eh? And little stories will do that. I just wanted to point that out. If you ever wondered why that or wa ends up at the end, it's because they're changing focus. It's changing who we're talking about. Oh, tabwen, get the magsin to wisageta. Gawia, migoscate min. Gaisig, get the magsian. Moy nintoitin. Gagisque taman. Pihtamanne. Tanse sipmatian. All right, so we'll go through this slow because there's a few words there I don't know. Gawia, don't. Migoscate min. Let's go look that up because I don't know that word. Migoscate. Don't worry about me. Gawia migoscate min. Guys, get the magsian. Don't worry about me who's pitiful. Moinin tuetin. Kagisqueitaman. Pihtamane. Gisqueitaman. See if we can find that one. Gisque. I don't want you to be, so this one is disturbed. I'm going to write some of these in. Rainbow Poutine says, how do you learn to pronunciation so well from just reading? I didn't learn pronunciation from reading at all. I learned pronunciation by listening to fluent speakers as much as possible. And then I just use reading on my own time to help expand my vocabulary and my comprehension. And I'm still pronouncing some of these wrong. I'm just doing my best. Oh, I see. I misunderstood something you said earlier. Oh, let me clear it up. What did I may have misspoke, as I am known to do. I'm just a learner, so I don't want to mislead anyone. Rainbow. Candace, new here. Where are you listening to fluent speakers? If you know fluent speakers, then, you know, ceremony sometimes, though that's not very interactive and not always accessible to everyone. When I was in Edmonton, I would go to conversational groups. The Ben Caffrobe used to have classes on Saturday. They don't do that anymore, but there are classes around Alberta. I'm sure there are classes in Saskatchewan. I see them on Facebook. And then if you can find a conversational group around where you are or start one. I learned as much or more at conversational groups, because conversational groups are other learners, and then fluent speakers would drop in, and it's just very, conversational groups will meet you where you are at. You get to ask a lot of questions. When you go to a class, you don't get to ask a lot of questions. We can discuss, I'm going to try and get through this story, and then we'll come back and chat about this some more. And I'll share some resources at the end. I'll share some links and stuff where you can go and find more stuff. Because learning the language isn't just like reading or going to a class. It's a lifelong thing. We'll see if we can get... There's a lot to this. I don't think we're going to get through this story tonight because there's lots. It's a long story, but we're going to go for 2 more nights. This is our second night. We started last night, and we're going to go for 2 more nights and see if we can get through some of these. So he says, Gawia, migo skate, man, don't worry about me, gas, get the maxian. Me who is in this pitiful way. That word right there, ga get the maxian. You might know that is chamax. That word chamax that you know, that's what that's from. Kitmagsu. Where that T can turn into a C. Kitmagsu. Kitmag. Gas kitmagsian. Mointoete, and I don't want gagisqueitaman. I don't want you to go crazy or be disturbed. I don't want you to be disturbed. Pihtamane. If you hear if you hear the way I've been living, if you hear about my life, I don't want you to be disturbed when you hear about my life, he says. How nina ni stoisin ego sam ita tistaguanean auia. Akamat beneo at the sapo pimo te kasut. Ninanis nistoisin. Let's look that up. Nistoisin. Sounds like tired, but it's a little bit different than ninistosin. Ninistoisin. Ninisto is sin. I wonder if it's just Ninisto sin and they just spelled it wrong. This book does have a couple typos. So I'll just pretend that. Oh, I'm tired. Ego sami tahtis taguanian. I've got a headache. Oh yeah. Akamapaneo as he continues complaining. Eate sapo pimotega sot, and he pretends to keep walking through there. Jesqua, toyo pieces. Just hold on, says this bird. I'll help you anyway. Or maybe I can help you. Otana kiskisgwa egwa. Opewepena exispamek nipsikse. He takes his eyes. Egwa opewepena exispamek, and he throws them up in the air, into the trees. Nipsikse, up into the willows. Gawia gosta. Gawi get the pakitna itaga otinaman. I think this is supposed to be in quotes, I'm guessing. Gawi gosta. Don't be scared. Gawi get the pakitna. Pakitna. Ita gauto utnaman. They'll fall back into where you took them from. Giskise ega pagontna nanto daetotaman. Remember not to pagontana. What's that mean? Pagontana nanto daetotaman. Higata metawagata manuma. Don't play with this. Pagotota. Oh, I see. I got confused there for a second. The quote started way back here, so this is all one dialogue. That makes more sense. Solomon Rat is, we've never officially met, me and Solomon. We almost met. I stopped at the university one day to meet Eric Wolvengray, and Solomon wasn't there. And he was out of his office that day, and then we just about went on a canoe trip together the summer before last, and that didn't work also. That's okay. We'll meet up one day. Let's see if we can get through this, and then we'll stop the story there tonight and chat for a bit before we shut it down. But we'll be back tomorrow, so don't worry. Gawi gosta. Don't be scared, I guess. Gawi ga pakit na itaga utsut naman. They'll fall back down to where you took them from. Giskise ega pagwantana nanto ta tutaman. Let's look that up. Pagwantana. Pagwanta. My brain thinks it knows what that means. Pagwanta. I think it's pagwanta. Pagwanta nanto ta totaman. Egata metawagataman. Uma, don't play with this. Don't play games with this, I guess. Pagoitota. Guitamayane. Pagoituta guitamayane. If something, let's look that one up. Guitamayane. Guitam mayene guitamao. If you are in need. That's a neat word. So that the way I would have learned this was e guitamayin. You are in need. E guitamayin. But if you have that I on the end, guitamayene. If you are in need. Paguituta guitamayene. Only do this if you are in need, he says to him. Wisagita kitamag ma peneka so. So Wisagita, he pitifully moans and pretends to be in pain still, I guess. Otanamos oskisagwa egwa opuwepen na. So he takes his eyes and he throws them up in the air. Gawi ga pakitin. Pakitin. Gawi ga pake. I think that would be pakitike. Ga pakitege. I don't know. Gawi ga. Ga. Let's look it up. Pakitin is for something to fall down, right? Pakitin. Pakitin. And then the plural, yeah, pakitike. Pakitege. Pakitege. I think it would be that. Gawi gapat, or you could say, I guess, gawi pakitin wa ostagwani. So they fell back into his head. Miwe tam. He really liked this. Aiki teta namawi gats. Egi tagi spaye, because he didn't think, I guess, anything was going to happen. Namawi gats. Gisasko ego tautsi sipuiteo. I think that gisasko, that meant quickly, yeah? So he leaves from there. Gaya suitamuat piesisa. Gagisa witamuat piesisa. Himio wati gotegwa and moya a wasame te istagwaneo. So we left from there. Gisa score, I think that means quickly. Eh? Let's look it up quick. Gisa score. He left quickly. Couple more words I'm going to look up there, because that last sentence I was like, oh, I should have stopped before that sentence, because I'm going to be here for a few minutes figuring out the rest of it. Ego tauti sipuiteo. Gagisu itamawat piesisa. When he finished telling the birds, Emiowati gotegwa. Moya wasame. And he didn't have a headache anymore, I guess. We'll look up that one word. Miowatseho. See what that means. He'd been cured. That makes sense. So he ran away. He left there really quickly as soon as he finished telling the birds that he'd been cured and he didn't have that headache anymore. We're going to stop there tonight. There's still quite a bit to this story. So you can find these stories in this book here. Gasapigiskisian. By Solomon Rat. You can find this on the U of R Press website. I heard somebody say it was in, might be in chapters. I think it's about $26. We're going to leave it there tonight. We're going to do this for 2 more nights. We'll see if we can get through this story. Oh, Shanizzle didn't even show up for her story. She's going to be mad. So we'll do a couple more of these. We'll see if we can get, in the next couple nights, get to the end of this book. And we'll go for a little bit if anybody wants to chat. Any questions about anything that we read tonight? Any words? Tapwe. Do you have a Dene book? Oh, I was going to, resources. So if you want to, I think they have some, you check the U of R Press. They're putting out a lot of stuff lately. If you go on their website, books, Indigenous language resources. I'm just going to pull my phone out of the way. I don't think we need that anymore. I can see my screen for a change. There's quite a bit of, they're always putting out different stuff. They have a few series like these language readers, they call them. And these ones are really good. There's a couple in, I've got 2 of them. One in Y dialect, Wawi Tatsamunsa. I think it was Eric Wovengray published that one. And then, what's the other one? The Woods Cree Stories, Tisqua. So this one here, these are really good. This is Nihidoatsmona, and it is in TH, but again, you can, there's a glossary in the back, so you can look up the words. TH and Y are so similar. As a learner, I studied all of it as much as possible because there's way more in common than there is different. Let me see if I have the other one. And then this is the other one here. So these are from their First Nation language readers. And the nice thing about these books is the stories are smaller. They're not quite so, like, I think the stories are a little bit more hand-picked. And there's some easier stories in here. So if you're at that kind of beginner or moving into an intermediate level, and you're looking for something like this one story here, that's getting kind of advanced. And Solomon's too is good because he's got lots of short stuff in here. It's like a collection of stuff that he's written over the years. And there's just lots of good language. And Solomon was taught for years, and he's just seems like a really great teacher. Just the stuff he writes is digestible for students, I think. Whereas if you just find a book like Jim Gani Pati Dio, you're gonna like me, you're gonna be like, whoa, this is advanced. This is heavy stuff. Another site you can go to is I have a website called kiano.net. And from here you can go to, in the top corner, Learner Library. I'll put the title on the screen too, Tisqua. Not that one. That one needs to be in front. See if I can make it white. Can I move it? Yeah. So kiano.net, I just put the text up on the screen there, kiano.net. That's my site. And if you go to Learner Library, I just reorganized this recently. So if you click on watch, I'm still putting stuff in here. I don't list every YouTube video, but I got a few links to a few different YouTube channels. Again, listen, NBC On Demand. As I collect things, I just put it in here. So if you're looking for things to listen to, and you can filter by, like, say, beginner and it'll sort of make it a little bit more beginner friendly, but it's hard to classify these things sometimes because there's a lot of mixed material. But if you start there, there's a lot of stuff. And if you know of something, like if you know of resources maybe from your community, something you've put together or something that you found that's not in here, feel free to send it to me. You can submit it right here, or you can just send it to me on TikTok or whatever, and I will include it in here. So just sort of an ongoing collection of stuff. And as I find hard to find stuff, like a good example is Indigenous Names for Alberta Communities. It was published by the Glenbow Museum in '87. It's just hard to find, so I have a copy of it here. Yeah, the SICC is another great resource, especially if you're looking for books. So if you go to the SICC store, let me change that text. Shut that off. If you just Google for SICC store, and in here they have a ton of resources. Their books are really good. They have books at all different levels. For instance, I should have grabbed some. They're out in the front room. But these ones here, like Nawapma, Nawapatain, Boskain, Boskwa, they're just like simple phrases, but then you can get into the more advanced books like Nistomasquak is like the story of the three bears. I guess you'd say Goldilocks and the three bears, but like tells the story of the porridge and all of the stuff. Same as this Bahquais Canapes. It's a whole story, so it's a very good intermediate. It's a very good intermediate level resource if you're looking for more. You're looking for something to read in the home, or you're just looking to, for stuff that's beyond. Sort of you've been to a Cree class, you got your introductions and your basic stuff, and you kind of want to know where to go from there. And there's audio and stuff here too. Yeah, resources. Book on the first page has a full year of curriculum for teachers. Is it the phrase book? Is it this one at the top? $31 pages. I have quite a few of these, but I haven't bought them all. I just in chunks. Previous screen. Under new. Oh, this one here with Hal Cameron's artwork on it. I'd heard about this, but I haven't seen it. Teaching Sacred Language Curriculum. Is that the one you mean? I think so. Teacher's Resource Guide. I should get a copy of this. Yeah, I knew this was in the works. And I'd reached out to Hal a while ago and asked him if I could use that artwork for something. He's like, oh, it's being used for a book, so I don't know that I can do that. So I'd heard about it, but I haven't actually seen it yet. I think SICC is kind of like, they're always just kind of putting out new stuff, which is great. So it's another great resource. Okay. We use that, Stars says, we use that in University Cree class. Really good. Nice. I'm going to have to get a copy. I always I have so many books, honestly. I got a whole shelf full of books. So I want to buy more books. But I should stop buying books. Emmy says, can you explain what the E means before a word? Sort of. There's a paper, yeah, SICC. The website's called SICC. It's just, if you just Google for SICC store, and you'll see it. So, can you explain what the E means? Sort of. I'll try my best to do it fairly quickly. If you get into I think the best way to explain it is when we first get into the materials, like say Matsune Hiyawe or something like that, we learn it as what's called the conjunct mode. And we might learn that it means like ing, like emitoi, e mitoian, like I am playing. Nimitawan, I play. E mitoian, I am playing. And if you say it on its own in isolation, I think that's basically what it means. But in a narrative, in a story, what it means is that it's supplemental information to the main point of the sentence. So in some cases it can mean as, or in some cases it can mean when, or in some cases it can be descriptive. And so it doesn't, the E doesn't have a direct translation because it's not, the presence of E, the E conjunct, isn't a specific situation that has a translation in English. It more so has to do with how that information is supplementing the focus of that sentence. And what I mean by that is, if we go back into this, let's see if we can find an example here. We'll go to my site. Go to Bloomfield for a minute. So I think we talked about this the other night. We were looking at this. We were reading off this story, and there was a sentence in here. Let me see if I can find it really quickly. Might not have been here. So here's an example. This sentence right here. Exteic bieskegotagiot namakeskoteo. So what you'll find is, and I'm trying to explain this and not be too confusing. What you'll find is that generally speaking, within a sentence, there will be one verb that is in what they call the independent mode. So in this case, it's this one, otinam or otinamak. So there'll be one. And it's sort of, you can think of it as like the focus or the point of this sentence. In fancy academic terms, they call it, I think they call it like indexical or the indexing. It basically, that verb is sort of focused on where and when and who is involved. It indexes, it places that sentence somewhere. Giotnamak, they took fire. That's what this says. Giotnamak. And so this egisteic, in this context, it's saying when or as. So in this case, when it was hot, I guess. When it was hot, they got fire from it. They took the fire. So you wouldn't say the fire is hotting, because that doesn't make sense. In this case, it means when. If we look at the next sentence, Bisk asinia e pagamahwatsik e wasasko te paiet ego tewa kiot namwak skoteo I sinwak. So again, there's one word in here that's indexing, or that's in independent mode. Giotinamwak, that same word. And so the rest of these are sort of, the conjunct in this case is supporting the context. And that's the best way I know how to explain it, because until I've heard different people explain it different ways, and it's really hard to explain because it also can do different things depending on where it is in the sentence. And like we've heard as learners, sometimes we hear free word order, but that's sort of not always the case. The phrasing does matter in the language. So in this case, biaskasiniai pagamahatsik yuasko te paiet, as they made sparks from it. So I guess the interpretation over here would be, presently they made fire. Oh, sorry, yeah, when it got hot. Also, they pounded a stone, and when it sent out sparks from this too, they got fire. And I biask eventually, they hit that stone when, and again in this context, when it made sparks. Ego te egua, giot namwak. So it's challenging. So we can't just assign an interpretation to the A. We sort of need to learn to understand how those are used in context. I apologize that that's the best I can explain it. And the only way I know how to do that is just to listen to the language lots and study. Because I've seen even, there's a really great book by Claire Cook. Not a book, a paper. I think it's a dissertation or a thesis. Let me see, Claire Cook. The Syntax and Semantics of Clause Typing. I don't recommend you read this unless you're into academic stuff, because it's very academic-y, but she goes into great detail into that E conjunct. Anine, bonjour. It's hard to explain. The cool thing is, though, is that your brain is designed for language. Your brain is actually designed for language. So I'll tell you what, the more you listen, the more you study, and the more you, I'm not going to tell you you have to transcribe, but if you get into transcribing, that will help you. Because when you sit down and you just figure out what every word means, it might not make sense today. You'll just be like confusing. But I tell you, 6 months later, you'll come back and be like, oh, that makes sense. And I have no idea why. Just because your brain is designed for language, and your brain will figure it out if you just keep going. You just have to kind of trust that process. Oh, I missed a whole bunch of comments. I'm going to try and go back a little bit. So the Brownies was talking about some project, crypto to help thrive native communities. I'll have to go check that out. That sounds interesting. So we tried to talk about conjunct for a little bit. SAS, the SICC Saskatchewan, I think they renamed it, didn't they? Saskatchewan Indigenous Cultural Center. They have a bunch of language, they have a whole bunch of resources for different languages in there. Ba-da-ba, dance, Anin. Lee says, my late mother was from Ochis. Kiano, Nayam, it's Kiano with an A, N-A-W, Kiano. Let me put it back up on the screen there. That's my site, kiano.net. Right there at the top, kiano.net. And you can find lots of resources on my site. We have some projects that we're working on. Hopefully I'll be able to talk about those more soon. Send me stuff if there's something on here that I've missed. We have some apps and stuff that we're working on. You can also get to the Bloomfield works. So Bloomfield was a linguist in the 20s. He published 2 books, and our SRO writing system is largely based off of his work. He published in, he was at Sweetgrass in Saskatchewan in 25, I think, and then one book was published in, oh, I forget. He published Plains Cree Texts and Sacred Stories of the Sweetgrass Cree. So you can, if you click on that link there, that'll bring you to those stories. I have them online for further study. Yeah. We're just going to go a couple more minutes and then I'm getting hungry. Wow. Gapi, Gilgoik. All y'all that came to visit with me tonight, and read with us. Same time tomorrow, it will be 7 o'clock Edmonton. What time is it in Saskatchewan right now? It's 8 o'clock in BC, where I'm in West Kelowna. I gather it's 9 o'clock in Edmonton. Is it 10 o'clock in Saskatchewan? I don't know how the time zones work over there. 10 o'clock. Okay, so tomorrow night again at 8 p.m. Saskatchewan, 7 p.m. Edmonton, 6 p.m. BC, and some unknown time in Whitehorse. Whitehorse is on their own time. We'll be back again tomorrow night. We're going to go 2 more nights, and we're going to try and finish this story. Atsimona, we sage Atsimona, Amona Egsigais Atsimut Solomon Rat. And if we get through those, then we'll grab another book. If we run out of those, we'll do some more. We got 2 more nights to go where we'll do stories. Ahaw, kakio kitam skat now, wow. Kagisi tano igwa. We're going to finish there. I thank you again for joining in tonight. We'll be back again tomorrow, 6 o'clock Pacific. Who's bringing KFC? I know, right? It better be a big bucket of KFC. Mitni, minino tegetan mista, eh? Now everybody wants KFC. I'm going to shut the stream down there. It's good to see you all again. Kanaskum tinawao. Wapa ke ka wapum tinawao mio paige. We'll see you all tomorrow. If everything goes as planned, have a good night. Muestas.